Alright. Presenting my screen. Morning, Dakaya. Alright, gang, we're going to be doing the sample test, which you should have a copy of. Somebody speak out if we don't have this sample test copy, or you can't see my paper. But that's what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully, kind of flowing right through this and without too much, without too many hiccups. We can just kind of burn right through it. Hey, Allison. Hey, Jonathan. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Okay. Well, let's get rocking here. So, sample test 2B. I'm going to be posting like what always happens after a sample test. We'll do like the real deal test, which will be very similar to the sample test. I should be able to post that tomorrow at the latest. But what's up, Connor? But here we go. Without any further ado, Unit 2B sample test. So what was like? So just keep in mind, okay? And again, I keep saying this, but by now, you should have a pretty good big picture perspective of all the different kinds of factoring. The first plan is to do GCF. The second plan is to do unfoil. Okay? Where, unfoil example A would be like what you would call basic unfoil. And then, the next kind of unfoil, I would say, would require Phoenix method. And then like the third different scenario for unfoil would be like the difference of two squares. I don't have a whole lot of room there, but so you should have a pretty good grip on like that big picture. So number one, Jack, what method's going to apply to number one?
Unfoil.
Nope. Not only is that just a no, but what method should we always try first? Did you think of that first, or no? Or
Yeah.
oh, and you thought like there is no GCF?
Yeah.
Ooh, think again, Jack. Is there any numbers that you can divide away from both 3x and 18?
Three.
3. Right? Remember that, everybody. Just because these two terms don't also have an x in common, like, I don't know, maybe we'll come across that example, but yeah, a GCF can only be something like 3. And then when you actually undistribute that out, what are we left with here, Jack, in this bubble factor?
What?
What's going to be
X plus 6.
x plus 6? There we go. And that one's done. And I guess I have these official like final answer spots, so I guess I'm not going to get too hung up on that. Actually, when we take our test, it's probably going to be like another Google Doc, so this will not really apply there. But all right, so number two, Dakaya. Is there a GCF here in number 2 with x squared, 5x, and 14, or negative 5x and negative 14 in a way? But do you think there's a GCF with these 3 terms, Dakaya?
Yes.
What do you think it is? Or no? You're changing your mind?
Yeah.
Yep, good eye or whatever. Yeah, there is no GCF. So we move on to unfoil. Now, I know I'm getting a little specific here, Dakaya, but do you think, like, okay, let's even start from here. Dakaya, is this the difference of two perfect squares? Would it be that kind of unfoil? No. It like that's only even possible if there's only two terms. The difference of two perfect squares. This has three terms. So there's no way it's the difference of two perfect squares. Now, do you think it's such a like you think it's like an easy problem or a tougher problem that would require the Phoenix method? What do you think, Dakaya? Easy or Phoenix method tough? Um, Not the way I describe it. You know, it's only Phoenix method level when this first term is like a 2x squared or a 5x squared or a 3x squared or a, you know what I mean? If that first term, everybody, is just x squared, you're going to be thinking this is more like just basic unfoil, where you can make your bubbles right away and be done in like one step, basically. Well, I don't know if I'd call it like one step, but you know what I mean. So this is where you got to figure out like what two numbers multiply to make negative 14, but they also add up to negative 5. Okay? So like Dakaya, last time I'm calling on you for a little while, well, and then I'll call on someone else, but can you think of just one possibility where we could like multiply a couple numbers together to get like negative 14? What do you think, Dakaya? No rush.
You said negative 14?
Yeah, like just think of like one possible way that you could have two numbers multiply to get negative 14, this final number here. Could I do like 1 and something? Because if you guys were thinking like like if you were being a little bit smart with how you ran through your options, you can like literally start with 1. So like 1 times what is like negative 14, you know? That would be like negative 14. So one of your first ideas might be, if you were going like literally like in some kind of order, you'd go like positive 1 and negative 14, you know? And then maybe also negative 1 and positive 14 would be different, you know? But neither one of those also adds up to negative 5. So neither one of these are going to work, Dakaya. How about like 2? Can we make 14 by doing 2 times something? Yeah. So that would be like my next, thing that I check. And so remember, but it's negative 14, so you got to do like maybe like a positive 2 and a negative 7. And it turns out, ding, 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 because positive 2 and negative 7 also add up to negative 5. And that's all the game you're playing. So that one's done. So this was basic unfoil, figuring out those two numbers by a little guessing and checking, but then you're done. Number 3, Aaron, is there a GCF to number 3? Because you always try a GCF first. What's the GCF, Aaron, if there is one?
2.
2. And you're right. And so when you bring out the 2, that's what's left over. But you might want to write this down, like maybe here, people, I don't know. You always got to check to see if you can keep going. Sometimes you can't. Like I should have said this up here with Jack's problem, you know. You always need to check to see if like this x plus 6 can be factored again. Of course, you can't keep factoring x plus 6, that whole bubble. But Aaron, can we factor x squared minus 25 some more?
Yeah.
How?
X plus 5 and x minus 5.
Awesome. See, this was that special case unfoil, where it was like the difference of two perfect squares. X squared is a perfect square, 25 is a perfect square, and so the bubbles are just x plus 5, x minus 5. Square root of x squared is x, square root of 25 is 5, and so there's your two bubbles. Now that's done. So this was like a double dose of factoring. Number 4, Jessalyn. Do you think there's a GCF with these three terms? 4x squared, 8x, and 5? Let me make sure no one else has joined in. Oh, and Jessalyn dropped off again with possibly bad Wi-Fi. Connor, do you think there's a GCF to number 4? Nope. You know, and just really quick, I don't know if this ever comes up. I guess I didn't put this on the test, but you know, when you're comparing terms, yeah, technically that's a negative 8x and a negative 5, but you know, the only time you're ever going to bring out like a negative GCF is if the first term, like the leading term, is negative. So yeah, like when I say like, is there a GCF between 4x squared, 8x, and 5? Technically it's a negative, I guess, but all right. So Connor, we're going to move on to unfoil. Obviously, would you describe this? Like, which case would you describe this as? Basic unfoil, Phoenix method, time, or it's the difference of two squares? What do you think is going to happen here with this kind of unfoil? We need the Phoenix method because of that 4 right there. So step 1 is to multiply that 4 to the other end, that third number, and so you get x squared minus 8x minus 20. Remember, the next step in the Phoenix method is now you can just make your two bubbles by thinking like what two numbers multiply to get negative 20, but they also add up to negative 8. Who thinks that? Does anyone know it? Just kind of speak out. Can anyone think of like what two numbers multiply to make negative 20, but they also add up to negative 8? Again, this is where you might want to go off on the side or grab your calculator, but it's a little bit of guessing and checking time, whether it's in your head or on paper or on your calculator. Two numbers that multiply to get negative 20. So we know one's got to be plus and one's got to be minus, but they have to add up to negative 8. Does anyone know it? It's going to be negative 10 and positive 2. Again, you might go, okay, 1 and 20, no. 2 and 10, ooh, yes, as long as you make the 10 negative and the 2 positive. So the next step in the Phoenix method is to bring the Phoenix back to life. Bring the Phoenix back to life by dividing it in. Next, you reduce, if the fractions can be reduced, you reduce. And then the final step is to bring the denominators up in front. Bump them up in front of the x in that bubble. So your final answer, your final bubbles, are 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 5. Those are the bubbles that would foil together to make 4x squared minus 8x minus 5. So that was Phoenix method time. This next one, Jonathan, what do you think we're going to do here? Just let's cut to the chase. How are we going to factor this? Do you think, you know, Jonathan? Was Jesselyn able to get back on here or what? What do you think, Jonathan? How is this going to be factored? Just cut right to the chase. Well, do you think there's a GCF?
Yeah.
Not here. Unless you want to say it's 1, which doesn't count. So there's no GCF, so we move on to unfoil. And this is where, like, because it's just x squared there, that's when you think like, oh, this could definitely be like just basic unfoil, where you think of the two numbers that get you positive 16 with multiplication, but positive 17 when you add them up, and it turns out that's going to be just 1 and 16, positive 1 and positive 16, and then this one's done. This was just basic unfoil because there was no GCF, you know, like because these three terms, they all didn't have an x. And as far as 1, 17, and 16, there's no GCF other than 1, which doesn't count. So basic unfoil. Now number 6, I'll take care of this one because this one might throw you for a loop, okay? This is what separates the A+ people from the non-A+ people, I guess. There's no GCF. So you move on to unfoil. Look at this. There's only 2 terms. The only chance this has in the world of unfoiling is if it's the difference of 2 perfect squares. And you know what? It is. It is the difference of 2 perfect squares. 9 is a perfect square. So 3, you know. But n to the 4th is also a perfect square. And the square root is actually n squared. So, yeah. N squared to start each bubble. 3, and then it's one of the bubbles is plus, one of the bubbles is minus. That's how the difference of 2 perfect squares works. So, oh, we're losing people here. What's going on? Connor and Allison, what the heck, man? I mean, I don't know. That just, you know, I let the office worry about attendance and whatever it is they do. But, oh, Aaron. Oh, it's lagging. It's lagging? Like, Aaron, can you just unmute really quick?
Yeah, it's lagging really bad. It kicked me off twice already, and I had to
Really?
rejoin.
I can, yeah, it's, you know, that stinks. It doesn't appear to be lagging on my end, like when you just said all that, but maybe that was just like a good moment. Like, Aaron, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
In the last few seconds? That stinks. Well, maybe I'll just do this, okay? Maybe I'll just, because I think I've kind of covered, like, I think we've now hit, like, every kind of, well, not, actually, we haven't hit every kind of example, but GCF, unfoil, all these different unfoil scenarios. So because number 6 is done. Number 6 is done. So let's fast track through the rest of this. And, you know, if my voice starts lagging, at least what I'm writing can speak for itself, you know, if you can't hear me that well. But hopefully you can hear me good for number 7, because number 7 is an example of where there's a GCF, okay, but this keeps going with like basic unfoil. So I'm pretty sure this is going to keep factoring even after you do a GCF. So the 2 comes down, and this keeps factoring because we have positive 5 and negative 3 is how like this bubble could like factor again by unfoil. So this is the final answer. 2 and then these 2 bubbles. Number 8, number 8, check it out. There's no GCF, so I'll literally write that down. There's no GCF, but when you go to unfoil, check it out. It's like literally the only 2 ways to get negative 11 are positive 1 and negative 11, or negative 1 and positive 11, which neither one of those makes so guess what? This is almost like a trick question, because guess what? This can't factor at all. So I threw that little curveball into the mix. Number 8, there's no GCF. The unfoil approach doesn't work, so this one can't factor. Number 9 is an example of you're looking at this and you always try for a GCF first, and there is a GCF. So the GCF is, let's see here, 4AB. That's the GCF. Between these 2 terms, we're talking 4AB, okay? So when we bring out a 4AB from this term, I believe we're left with a 3, and from the a squared we'll still have an a, but if we take out a b, like that's it. So just 3a, like that had, if we divide a b away, there's nothing left really, like technically 1. So like, yeah, that's just 3a. Now how about this? When we divide 4ab away from that term, literally just the number 1, and that's it. So that's number 9. This was just a GCF problem. Number 10, here we go. Is there a GCF? No, there's no GCF. And when you see that 3 out in front, you got to be thinking, okay, I'm going to need the Phoenix method. So, you know, multiplying 3 to the other end, x squared minus 14x plus 28. Okay? So if the Phoenix method, if this is going to actually unfoil, like with the Phoenix method, this needs to be able to unfoil the easy way, you know, like just kind of making your bubbles. So is there 2 numbers that multiply to get positive 28, but they add up to negative 14? Well, if that's the case, wouldn't it have to be like 2 negatives? So let's see here. We're talking like 1 and 28? No. 2 and 14? No. Oh my God, what am I doing? What an idiot I am. 3 times 8 is 24. Oh my God. What a bonehead. So it would have been 1 and 24. Well, negative 1 and negative 24. That's still not right. Negative 2 and negative 12. There we go. That's it. Negative 2 and negative 12. That gets me negative 14. Okay, so I keep going with the Phoenix method, and that means we now bring the Phoenix back to life, and this fraction doesn't reduce, because you always reduce the fractions when you can. This fraction reduces. Heck, this fraction divides cleanly. So this is going to divide cleanly, and this 3 is going to bump up. So our final answer is going to be 3x minus 2 when the 3 bumps up. And this just becomes a 4 clean. And so there's the final answer to number 10. Number 11, we're talking no GCF. So when you move on to unfoil, you need to realize that, like, oh my gosh, that's only two terms. So if that's going to unfoil, it's got to be the difference of two perfect squares. So x squared, that's just x and x. 16, that's a perfect square. The square root of 16 is 4. So we got x plus 4, x minus 4. And that's that, and that's done. That's done. And then number 12, we have no GCF. And let's see if we're back to good here. So Dakaya, hopefully it's not lagging. Dakaya, so there's no GCF. Do you think this is going to be like basic unfoil, Phoenix method level unfoil, or the difference of two perfect squares? What do you think? Yep, very good. Because it's just x squared, so your bubbles are just going to be x and x, which means all you got to do is figure out two numbers that multiply to get 32 but add up to 18. Let's see here. What would it be? Would it be 1 and 32? I already kind of know, like, if it's going to be a positive 32 and a positive 18, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a couple. So positive 1 and positive 32? No. Positive 2 and positive 16? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Like, we don't even have to go to what? 4 and 8? That would have been the next one, but we already realized it was 2 and 16, right? 2 times 16, 2. Yeah. Yeah, that's good, right? It's good. That one's done. That one's done. So that's the sample test. So all now, like you guys that were able to tune in, all you got to do is now turn this in. I did like about half an hour ago. I did throw that onto Google Classroom. So turn in the sample test. We'll be doing this together in today's Google Meet. And then I'll post the test. If I don't post it today, I'll post the test tomorrow. But yeah. One final thing for everybody. I mean, just a reminder. I think I put this on the stream. A big reminder. Wait, did I? Wait a minute. I thought I posted this. I guess I didn't. What the heck? Did I write it and not hit post? Well, maybe let's, just a big reminder, people, that the grading period ends on April 8th. And that's when, your final grade for this quarter locks in. So please keep that in mind, that, on April 8th, whatever your grade is, so you gotta pay extra close attention to your grade to get in, missing work, before April 8th, well before April 8th, really. But anyway, that's all. If you have any, if you think, you might want to stick around here one-on-one or whatever, if you think you're still struggling a little bit with factoring and I can help you out. Otherwise, I will see you later.